What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this awesome walnut and epoxy wall plaque with 223 ammo embedded inside. So let's go ahead and get started with the project. So I'm going to be making this project out of two pieces of walnut that came down on our property over the summer. I think it's really cool that I can reuse this piece of a branch and not just throw it away. Like usual, the first step is to build a mold. So I have hot glued my two pieces of walnut down to a piece of plywood, and now I'm just putting a piece of plexiglass on the end to keep the epoxy from leaking out. A lot of people like to use tuck tape or Tyvek tape on that plywood for the bottom of the mold. I generally just like to use packing tape. So now it's time for the first epoxy pour. I mixed up a small batch of Total Boat Thickset epoxy and used some alcohol ink to dye it black. Now that Total Boat Thickset had been sitting out in my shop for a while, so it was pretty cold, and you can see in some of these shots it's a little bit globby, but fortunately that did not impede the curing at all. Once I was done pouring the epoxy, I could use a blowtorch on a low setting and pop all of the air bubbles. Once the epoxy was dry, it's time for the bullets. So I poured 20 rounds of depowdered 223 ammo onto the board and spread them around into a pattern that I thought looked cool. I wanted it to look random, so I overlapped some of the bullets and put them in different positions around the inside. Once I had all the bullets arranged in a way that I liked them, I used a little bit of Starbond CA glue and accelerator to hold them all down to the previous layer of epoxy. This would make sure that they don't float in the next layer of epoxy that we're going to pour over top. This is a really important step because at this point these bullets are hollow and they will probably float in the resin, so you definitely have to glue them down. So now it's time to pour the next layer of epoxy, and I mixed up a full cup of Total Boat Thickset to pour over top, and I ended up being just a little bit short. So I mixed up another batch of Total Boat Thickset epoxy and poured it over the top, and that did the trick. I also made sure to fill in any little knot holes or any little bug holes in the wood. That way I wouldn't have to go back and fill them later. And now you can see why Total Boat Thickset epoxy has become my new favorite epoxy. Just look at how clear that is. That's amazing. Guys, I have to interrupt the video real quick just to tell you that all of the products and tools that I've used in this video are linked down in the description box of this video, as well as the comments section of this video. If you use those links to purchase one of the items, I get a small kickback from the sale, and it really helps to support the channel. You can also find my Amazon affiliate links on my website under the Amazon affiliate links tab. With that being said, let's get back to the project. So after spending about half an hour getting the camera mounted up on my door to get this cool camera shot, I could finally plane down my board. And if you're going to be planing epoxy, I would really recommend that you have very sharp knives and you take very shallow passes. The epoxy is very hard on the knives and it tends to gum up the inside of your planer. So again, sharp knives and shallow cuts and you should be just fine planing down epoxy. I guess in my mind it was a cool shot, but I guess you're looking at my back half the time. So once you're done planing down your board, we can start with everybody's favorite stage of the project, sanding. And while a lot of people might overlook sanding, I really think sanding is one of the most important stages of a project. Sanding is what separates a good project from a great project. You'll notice that a lot of fine woodworkers and people that have been doing it a long time spend a lot of time sanding, and that's really what separates their work from people who don't really spend a lot of time on sanding or kind of just overlook it or skip through it. I started at 80 grit and worked my way all the way up to 320 grit, and that gives you a really nice finish for when you do your flood coat. So speaking of flood coats, here we are. So I have poured a little bit of Total Boat's tabletop epoxy onto my board, and I'm just using a squeegee to kind of spread it around. I didn't want a thick coat, so that's why I only poured a little bit on, and I had a lot of success with this method. So if you're going to be doing any flood coats in the future, I would definitely recommend trying this. It worked really well for me, and I'm very happy with how the final piece turned out. The reason I decided to go with the flood coat on this project is because it will give you 100% perfect clarity into the bullets that are inside this board. You can polish it, you can finish it with a clear coat, you can oil it, but none of that will give you as clear of a finished product as the flood coat. Well, at least that's how it's been in my experience. I know there's a lot of people that are very good at polishing epoxy, and if you're one of those people, definitely leave a comment because I'd love to hear about it. Guys, thank you so much for watching this week's video. I think this project turned out incredible. I'm super stoked about how cool it looks. I love all the different ammo in there. I put 223 rounds in there, and then I also stuck some little 22 long rifle rounds in there just to give it a little bit of variation. I actually did quite a few tests before making this video and kind of during making this project, trying to figure out how I was going to finish it. Originally, I wanted to put something like an armor seal on there because I didn't want it to be so glossy. And after doing some tests, I found that that didn't give me the clarity that I wanted. So I went ahead and did a flood coat, and I'm very glad that I did. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. In fact, I actually really like it. I just went ahead and installed a little sawtooth hanger on the back of it so I can hang it on the wall, and I just rubbed the back of it with a little bit of a water-based polyurethane. And I know I'm going to get quite a few comments about this, so I'm going to go ahead and address it right now. All of the ammo that's in this board is depowdered, which means all of the gunpowder that is inside has been removed, so these bullets are completely safe. They can't go off anymore. Basically, right now, they're just a hunk of metal. Make sure you guys go ahead and get subscribed to the video. I've got a lot of cool projects coming up as summer rolls around, it gets warmer, and my new shop gets built. So again, make sure that you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also be sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my future uploads. And guys, make sure that you go ahead and follow me on Instagram, Seth's Custom Creations. Put the name on the screen there for you. I post a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff and a lot of extra information that doesn't get put up on my YouTube channel, so definitely make sure you head over to Instagram and give me a follow. If you haven't already checked out my website, make sure that you go ahead and check out the website, www.sethscustomcreations.com. There's going to be a link in the description box down below that'll take you right there. But I've got a lot of products on there, I think over 50 or 60 on there, just projects like this that I've made. I've got a lot of extra information on there and some other stuff you might like. So definitely go and check out the website. I'll see you guys next week.